produces Alex metals. Alex is named that because we're in a part of the world that geologically is called the Alexander Terrane. That's the Alaska Panhandle, so the part of Alaska that runs down beside BC. And we're there for a very specific reason, which is it's an overlooked part of the world. A couple reasons why it was overlooked for many, many years, but it's really well endowed with a very particular kind of deposit, a volcanogenic massive sulfide deposit. There's some standout VMS deposits in the belt, and there's lots of potential to find more, and that's what we're going to do. We have a team that is designed specifically for that purpose, and we've set ourselves up with 3 projects. We're a private company in the process of going public, and so I'll dive into some of those details right now. I've already made forward-looking statements. I will continue to do so. The geologists in the room will shirk at this a little bit, but I wanted a really, really basic explanation of a volcanogenic massive sulfide deposit because that sounds complicated. Think of an underwater volcano. It comes up, all kinds of things come out of the volcano and then come down in layers, right? And one of those layers that can form in those situations is a metal-rich layer that's very rich in sulfides. That's the volcanogenic massive sulfide layer. And so you can think of it forming in layers, and then millions of years of rock movement happen, and those layers can end up in different orientations, vertical in the case of where we are, but you're not chasing veins, you're chasing these layers of mineralization that have come from underwater volcanoes millions of years ago. I said the Alexander Terrane is perhaps a bit overlooked as an exploration area. One reason is that in the last bull market, VMSs weren't the hot thing. Everyone wanted porphyries. Everyone wanted really, really big projects. In this bull market, people want buildable mines with high margins. And VMS deposits can produce exactly that because they offer grade. And they can offer some very, very nice grade. So a really good example of that, when it comes to grade, arguably one of the best examples of that for VMS deposits in the entire world, is Greens Creek. You can see the resource there written in red. So it's 40 million tons of 550 grams silver, 3.8 grams gold, 8.5% zinc, 3% lead. That's a deposit that any mining company in the world would want. And you get an example of that. Eldorado just bought Foran for $3.8 billion because they had a deposit of this kind. This is the kind of grade that VMSs can deliver. So Greens Creek belongs to Hecla. It's been operating for 35 years. It's on an island in coastal Alaska. The projects, there's 2 others if you look to the north. There's the Palmer deposit. Darwin, who's the chairman of this company and who put this portfolio together, he delineated that Palmer deposit. Very nice deposit. Now with Vizsla Copper, and Craig Perry and his team are going to make that bigger. And then Windy Craigie, just to the northwest of that, a behemoth in the world of VMSs. Like 300 million tons is almost unheard of in this world. So this belt of rocks can produce very nice VMS deposits, but it's hardly seen any exploration. And one of the key reasons is that just across the border, you're in BC. And Canadian companies love spending a flow through Canadian dollars. They don't love raising Canadian dollars and having to spend American dollars. And that is a major reason why you can't get a claim on the BC side, but there's VMS prospects available to stake on the Alaska side. So we have these 3 projects. Wodski and KSO are the 2 flagships, so I'll take you through those. I've mentioned Darwin. The other person here who I really want to mention is Nathan. Nathan worked with Darwin at Palmer, delineating those 17 million tons. He worked with Darwin at High Gold at that JT project. In there, he also managed to do a PhD on Greens Creek. So when you're talking about expertise in this kind of geology and experience operating in this part of the world, exploration programs, I don't think that Alex Metals could be in better hands than it is with Nathan and Darwin. I'm happy to talk about the others on the team, but in the interests of time, come to my booth and I'll talk to you about them there. I'll move on to Wodski right now. Wodski is an island. It's an island that's covered in trees, as you can see. So there's maybe about 6% outcrop. You can't see a lot of rocks. But it was flagged as having VMS potential back in 1980 when Greens Creek was discovered. A couple companies, oil and gas companies, because they did exploration then, moved down through the panhandle to see if there was another obvious Greens Creek sticking up out of the ground. And they noticed VMS potential on this island called Wodski Island. They drilled one area, found some really nice silver zinc. Then it was kind of lost nobody paid attention for a while. Then a local group led by a dentist got a hold of it. So kudos to him for having a geologic nose. And he held it for about 22 years. Now, during that time, he optioned it to a group called Bravo Ventures. And in 2004, they went and did a drill program. And they did it at that target you can see called Mad Dog, which is a great name for a target. I have no idea why it's called Mad Dog. But anyways, it's a great name. And the results that they pulled for Mad Dog look like they hit into the potential to find another Greens Creek. You can see the drill results there. They only did 7 holes. 5 of them returned mineralization, stacked lenses in 2 of them. We're talking sort of 1 to 17 meter intercepts with hundreds of grams of silver, very strong zinc, lead there as well. So that looks really nice. Now, what makes Greens Creek so special is that it has the silver and the zinc and the lead, but it also has strong gold. And there isn't gold reported there, but when we go to that same outcrop and sample it, we get very similar silver, zinc, and lead numbers, but we also get the gold in the same kind of ratios that they get at Greens Creek. So we will, I'll go back one. You can see this map. There's 2 horizons that are prospective for VMS. That red one that's highlighted, also essentially that light blue one, both have VMS showings along them. We'll do comprehensive mapping. We will drill at Lost Lake, the one that was drilled in the 1980s and has some really nice silver zinc. And it was drilled to 30 meters depth, to be clear. So we'll drill at Lost Lake and we'll drill at Mad Dog where they had these hits that were never followed up. I should say, Bravo Ventures drilled these holes. It was 2004. There was no money to raise. They had made a discovery in BC, lucky for them, so they pivoted to that, and this never got any follow-up. So that's Wodski. The other project that we will focus on this year is KSO. 2 old, tiny little mines, Kayam and Stumbleon, hence it being called KSO. This is on a big island called Prince of Wales Island. Mackenzie Inlet comes in, that's logging by the Native Corporation. You can essentially drive an overgrown logging road right up to the lower of those 2 mine sites. So the fact that there was a small old mine here that mined sort of 2% copper and 2 grams gold in VMS, that's interesting. But what's more interesting, really, is that when you go to that one that's a bit up on the hill, the Kayam one, you can follow 6 lenses of nicely copper gold mineralized massive sulfide that are 3 to 7 meters wide and track for as much as 200 meters, and they go straight down, and they've never been drilled. So that is really interesting, especially when you're talking about chip samples that are 2 to 8% copper and sort of 0.5 to 4.5 grams gold. So that's a system that deserves another look. That's up on the hillside, a kilometer away at Stumbleon. There's more of it. You can't see the lenses as well at Stumbleon, but I think that's largely because you can't see the rock. You're down in the trees because you're more in the valley. But those are 2 very nice VMS occurrences that haven't seen any work. An interesting additional layer here, tantalizing perhaps, is the geophysical signature. So in this part of this island, the only rock type that responds to an EM survey is massive sulfide. There's no argillite, there's no graphite, those other conductive things. So it's just the massive sulfide that lights up. So last fall when we were in the field, we did an EM survey. We only had the wide rectangle that's around Kayam and Stumbleon, got perfect anomalies at those two old mine sites. We will do borehole EM this summer to try and get a 3rd dimension on these images, which will be really important. But we flew a wider swath than what we owned, and we also lit up that western anomaly, which we then went up and staked with a helicopter in November. And when you fly up the creek that you can just kind of see cutting through the middle of that anomaly, you see Gossan on either side of the creek. So we will drill all 3 of these targets this summer. We're really interested to see what we find here. These are very, very strong targets. This is the Gantt chart of what we're going to do, but I'm going to skip over to here right now. Alex is currently private. We are in the process of going public. We currently have 27 million shares out. I am right now raising $12 to $15 million at 70 cents a share. If you'd like to talk about that, please come over and speak with me. When that all comes to be, we'll have about 45 million shares out, a quarter of them with board and management, another 15% escrowed. We'll have a market cap of probably $33 million with $16 million in the bank. And we're going to go out there and get it this summer. We're going to test 5 targets and see if we can make a precious metals-rich polymetallic discovery in a very resource-supportive part of the world. Thank you so much for staying till the end of the day. Really appreciate it, everyone.